friends, it's Terri Gaines, independent demonstrator with Stampin Up. In this video tutorial, I'm going to share 4 of my favorite embossing folders that are on Stampin Up's last chance product list. Last chance products are being discontinued and they are only available while supplies. Some of the product is discounted. These 4 embossing folders are discounted, and I'm going to share what I like about the folder and some projects that I created with them. So I'm going to start out with the timber embossing folder. This has been my go-to embossing folder when I need a subtle image. You have this subtle timber design, and I use it for more than just the nature cards. I use it when I just want a subtle background. Here's an example. I used it for the background before I attached this flower. This is a paper pumpkin kit. Now, when you see a card design and it's got a floral image or an image that you do not have, you can substitute any floral image. This is a fun fold card I created along with some additional fun folds for that kit. And I just added that subtle background before I attached the flower. Also, these countryside corner dies are on the the last chance list. They've been a go-to favorite of mine. And as I mentioned, they're also on the list. In the text portion of this video, I will have a link to a blog post where I will have all the video links and all of the links to the free project sheets for all of my projects I'm sharing today. So I absolutely love this. It's my go-to. I've used it on so many cards. I would have a stack of them if I brought all of them. I'm just showing you one of the cards. The second embossing folder I want to share is the Distressed Tile 3D embossing folder. This has got a tile image and it's distressed because it's just some of the images aren't there. I use this also when I need a subtle background, maybe a little more definition than the timber. And here's a project I used it for. I used it when I shared the all zipped up dies. I used it to texturize the pockets of the jacket and the shirt underneath the jacket. I will have a link to this tutorial if you want to see that project. And then I also used it on the background here. So I wanted a little bit more subtle than the timber, so I used it here. Again, countryside corners, they've been a go-to dies for me. They're on the last chance list. And then this is a pop-up card. So I will have the link to this pop-up card, and I have a project sheet that will give you the measurements, and I have a how-to tutorial for that card. So those are the first 2 embossing folders I want to share. The third one is the Painted Trees embossing folders. Now, before I started this video, I was going to see if the dies were available that coordinate with this. If they're not, you can use any tree die, or you can emboss these and cut these out. I created some projects with this, and I'm going to share the video link for it. Can you see that? Those 3 trees, just absolutely beautiful. So depending on what color you texturize, your cardstock color is, you can create different images. So I've used this for texturizing gold foil and for the different greens. This is Mossy Meadow. This one is Old Olive. And I have 2 projects I created. In both of them, I used another product that is on the last chance list. It is this metallic enamel effects. You get 3 of them in the package: gold, copper, and silver. They are regularly $15. They're on sale for $7.50 while supplies last. And I'm going to show you how I utilize this. I take my silicone craft mat and I place a dab of this enamel. So I'm going to use the gold on a silicone craft mat. And then I take a clear block, and a larger one than this might be good. I just grabbed the smaller one. You don't want a tiny one because we just want it on the surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the center of the block and squish it down. What I'm using the block for is to get some enamel that's just kind of flat on the block. I can place it down on my tree, and I can go back and get more. And wherever your block makes contact with, hope that shows up in the video if the lighting's right, it adds a gold metallic texture to it. So if you did blues, you could add the silver, you've got copper and gold, and it lasts quite a while. So just keep doing that, add more if you need. I do want to share with you, you do want to clean this while it's still wet. I like using these alcohol wipes, and I will take an alcohol wipe and clean this up. Let me grab one out of this little container. It's not tearing. There we go. And I will get this off while it's still wet. If you let it dry, it's a lot more elbow grease to get that cleaned up. But if you clean it up while it's still, before it dries, it's going to be so much easier. So just clean that up, and you have a great way to add a gold design to your project. You see how that is? Absolutely love that. So that's my third folder. Now, the next folder I'm going to share with you is the Layered Florals 3D embossing folder. This one has these beautiful floral images on it. Can you see that in the camera? And they're raised up, they're 3D, so you got quite a bit of depth with this. What I did with this folder is I texturized my white cardstock, I turned it over, and then I colored the divot side with blends. Now when you color them in with blends, what you can do is, we're coloring them in with blends. I'm going to do a little bit here, and then I'll bring it up to the camera. And I'm just going to do this little flower over here. I'm going to color the center of that little flower. I'm going to color in, so I use Granny Apple Green. Then I have here Flirty Flamingo. And I'm just going to give you a couple tips. I do have another tutorial. This is not going to give you all the tips that I have for this, but I'm going to color in a little bit here. You can see that I colored up the sides and onto that flat surface. I did the same for the leaves. I did the same. I should have been a little better about coloring the center of the flower in. And what you would want to do is just color this entire image in. When I say image, I should use the bullet point here. Color everything in that you want to have color. If you want it to be white, just leave it white. And the bullet's going to work better for the center of the flower. So you just color all of those in. And let's do that let's pretend I have everything colored in. And it takes a little bit of time, so I don't want to spend time doing that. So then what you would do is I take my Memento ink pad and take it, and we're going to work with it flat upside down. Keep in mind I don't have all of this colored in, and so I'm going to keep it flat, and then I'm going to kind of go in circular motions, and you've got to keep going until you get the color, the darkness you want. And I don't want to spend a lot of time doing this, but you can keep it as light as having a chalkboard look to it. You could keep it all, you know, as I mentioned, pretend we got that colored in. My samples, I put more ink on here so you can see the difference. Here's a sample where I colored in more of it. You can also see that some places it's going to pick up that black, but that's just a cool look. So that is one way that I use that embossing folder. And depending on what colors you color in your flowers, you can just get such a different look. So I absolutely loved that embossing folder for that technique. And as I mentioned, there are more embossing folders on the last chance list. There are lots of products there that are going to be only available while supplies last. I hope this tutorial was helpful for you. Like I said, look in the text portion of the video. It'll link you to the blog post with additional links to all the tutorials and the free project sheets for the projects I shared with you. Thanks for stopping by. Take care and happy creating.